Unprotected by Brett Nelson. Chapter 9. Tom wiped his brow with the sleeve of his shirt as he meandered down Main Street. He waved at his friend Bill across the road. "Out delivering the mail, huh, Tom?" He turned back and smiled at Louise, who appeared from between two SUVs carrying two fancy-looking totes. "If it weren't for the mail, I wouldn't have a life." He rushed ahead a few steps, opened the salon door, and followed her inside. He extracted a handful of envelopes from his mailbag and held them up. She hefted the totes onto the counter and whirled back around to face him. "You can place the mail beside the cash register. Thanks, Tom. You're a gem." "Well, I'm glad someone thinks so." He pushed open the door, then turned back. "You got a busy day today?" "Oh, very," she answered with an enthusiastic nod. "My 8 o'clock appointment canceled this morning, which was wonderful for me. It gave me an extra hour to stop by the beauty supply shop for a few things I needed. That'll keep me from having to go tonight after I get off work when I'm too tired to do it." "Well, it worked out fine for you then." He heaved his mailbag off the counter and pushed open the door again. "See you later, Louise." "Do you have time to wait just a minute, Tom? I have a little something for you." "Something for me?" He stepped back inside, happy to soak in another minute of her air conditioning. She dug through one of the totes, pulled out 2 sandwich bags, and handed them to him. "When I was at the shopping center, the ladies group at the Methodist Church were having a bake sale. I bought a dozen snickerdoodles to hand out to a few of my ladies. I thought you might want a couple." "Well, thank you. That'll be a nice afternoon pick-me-up." Back out in the heat, the traffic on Main Street was busier than usual. On a whim, he ducked into the police station as he passed. "Hey, Tom, what do you got for us today?" asked Latrina, the front desk clerk. "Believe it or not, no mail for you guys today." She raised her hands in a sign of victory. "A day without bills or junk mail? You better get your heart right because Jesus might just call us home today." "Once this new amendment is in effect and we lose our guns, we'll all wish Jesus would hurry and call us home," he scoffed. "Ain't that the truth, honey?" She giggled, then leaned across the desk and motioned him down to her. "Think I'll get lucky and not have any bills in my mailbox when I get home?" He straightened up, rifled through his bag, and tossed 4 envelopes to her desk. "Afraid a day without bills isn't in the cards for you. Oh, story of my life." She picked them up, looked through them, and tossed them onto her desk. He hovered his hand over the envelopes. "You want me to take them back and put them in the mailbox for you?" She shook her head and shoved them in her purse. "Nah, that's okay. I'll take them. Unless there's a rule of delivering it somewhere other than the mailbox." "We usually don't deliver except to the mailbox, but it's one of the perks of small-town life. We do whatever we want." He gestured toward the sheriff's office. "He in today?" "Oh, he is, but he's a bear. You might want to wait if it's not important." He doesn't scare me any. You mind if I go back?" Her eyes clouded over with uncertainty. "I'll tell him you tried to stop me from going back if he gets mad." After a couple seconds of deliberation, she gestured toward his office. "Go on back. I don't think he'll mind since you guys are friends." He gave her a nod of thanks and knocked on the sheriff's door frame as he pushed it open. "Hey, Sheriff Knucklehead, you got company." Latrina grinned and turned back to her work when the sheriff bellowed out a good-natured laugh. "How are things today?" Tom took a seat in one of the chairs in front of the desk and piled the mailbag at his feet. "I tell you, I'm busier than a hooker at a truck stop." "I was afraid of that." "Why are you in here talking to me instead of being a responsible employee?" "Well, if you ask me, being responsible is overrated." The sheriff let out a rumbling laugh. "Wait until I tell your boss you said that." Tom crossed his arms over his chest and nestled into the seat. I stopped in to deliver the mail to Latrina. Since I was here, I thought I'd drop in and say hi to my old pal. Connor gave him a wan smile. Say hi and pump me for information while you're here? We're old friends. It's not pumping for information when you'd give it to me at some point anyway. Funny, isn't it, that I seem to have a lot more old pals running around town today than I had yesterday? He crossed his arms across the front of the desk and motioned for Tom to lean in closer. Tom glanced over his shoulder at the closed door, then scooted his chair closer to the desk. You planning to turn your guns over next week? Am I talking to my old buddy or to the sheriff? Connor shot him a look and leaned back in his chair, which squeaked in protest. I wasn't aware that turning them over was an option. It's not an option, Connor quipped. Well, then why ask? Connor spewed an obscenity and glared at his friend. So you're turning them over? I plan to stand in this blasted August heat and turn them in along with every other law-abiding citizen. Connor thought about it for a few seconds, then leaned his barrel chest over the surface of his desk again. All of them? He whispered. Well, unless we're allowed to keep a certain amount of them, I'd plan to turn them all over. He whispered back. He knew there was no such provision to the amendment, otherwise he would have heard about it by now. It chaps my hide to turn them over, but I know you boys in blue are the messengers, so I didn't plan to give anyone a hard time about it. I wish everyone else was as charitable as you. I've had my bloody butt handed to me at least 10 times today, and it's not even time for the first smoke break. Do I need to go out and bust some heads on your behalf? 'Cause I'll do it. You still have those guns your dad gave you? The ones that used to belong to his dad? I still have them. Why? Are they registered in any way? Covered under your insurance policy? Anything like that? Tom fixed a hard stare on the sheriff and wondered where all the questions were headed. No? Why? There's no paper trail leading to them. No? Why? Were they passed down to you by your father in a will or through any other legal document? Or are they an illegal will for you to pass down to someone else once you croak? Once I croak? No. Why? He was tired of asking the same question over and over, but Connor would get to the point in his own time and way, because he was stubborn like that. The sheriff ran his hands over his face in a brusque manner, then motioned his friend closer. If I get any closer, sugar buns, things could get real awkward between us real fast. I ain't ever been unfaithful to my dear Willamay. May she rest in peace, and I don't intend on starting now, he whispered with a friendly wink. So those guns of your old man, they're not registered in any way, and there's no paper trail leading to them. There's no paper trail. Why? Where are they? The same place I always keep them, in the gun safe. Do they still work? I use my newer guns more than those old relics that were passed down. I take them out and clean them once every 2 months when I'm not using them, sometimes every 3 months, depending on how busy I am. Good. Sheriff's eyes darted from one side of the room to the next as though he were guilty of something. And right now, Tom had the feeling he was guilty of something. If I were you, I'd take those old guns out and put them somewhere safe. You mean someplace safer than the gun safe? Connor shook his head and grumbled under his breath. Look, pal, there's nothing I can do about your new guns. Anything you bought at a store or acquired through any other official means can be traced back to you, so you'll have to let those go. Your old guns, though, the government can't trace them back to you because there's no trail that leads them to you. Sheriff paused and looked at him with raised eyebrows. Are you saying what I think you're saying, Sheriff? Connor stood and placed both beefy palms on top of his desk. That's all I can say on the matter. Tom followed Connor's lead and stood to his feet. So you're telling me not to take my old guns, the ones that can't be traced back to me, to the drop-off point starting next week? I'm the sheriff of this town. I ain't telling you to do nothing. Tom swallowed over the lump in his throat and bent to pick up his mailbag. I understand, Sheriff. Thanks for taking the time to visit with me. Sheriff Connor sat back down and stared at the papers strewn across his desk. He looked up just before his friend opened the door. If I were you, I'd take those old guns of yours and hide them someplace safe. Someplace where nobody would ever think to look for them. Tom nodded his understanding and put his hand on the doorknob. If that lame brain of yours happens to concoct an idea about how to keep your old guns, something I know nothing about, you might share that lame brain idea with a few of your most trusted friends who you know won't open their yaps about your lame brain idea. Tom opened the door and stepped back into the main office. Thanks for taking the time to visit with me, Sheriff. I told Latrina I didn't want to bother you, but she insisted that you're never busy. Connor grunted his response and pushed the mouse to wake up the computer. Tom winked at Latrina as he pushed back into the sweltering heat of the day.